brothers and sisters, I just want to come and just say a word. And this word is there's no need to keep pointing the finger at each other. Okay, basically, what this is saying is the Most High had me just come on here and watch, YouTube. And it got to a point where I was just like, wow, because most of the channels I came across was channels where it was just like the men were just bashing the women, what they were doing wrong, what they needed to do instead. The women were bashing the men. You had some women bashing other women, and you had some men bashing other men. And it was just like, why do we continue pointing the finger at each other? We have done this for years, and it has not done anything for women and men. It has not changed the women. It has not changed the men. It just keeps going back and forth, and no solutions or no transition. And that made me think of when it was time for me to do my healing, and the Most High pulled me to the side, And the Most High's like this. Before you can even do anything for anybody, you have to heal yourself first. You got to start with you. You got to look at them in the mirror and heal your wounds. We have dang near the whole percent of people that are unhealed from childhood trauma to adult trauma. And so much healing that needs to be done. Everybody is going back and forth with each other because they don't want to take the time to look at themselves and say, hey, it's me I need to work on, and stop worrying about everybody else's backyard and clean up my own first. So one thing the Most High pointed out to me when I was doing my healing was, you have to start with you first. You cannot go out here looking at everybody else because that's just a distraction from you doing the work. So we have to start doing things that work, and pointing fingers is not going to work. In order to change the way things are, we have to go back to what works. And what's going to work is start pointing out what worked before, even if it was in the old days, and that's what we seen, but it worked. Family structure, for instance, when the woman was in the house and she knew her role, when the man was in the house and he knew his role, and the woman was the teacher and the lover and the provider in the home, and she made sure everything was going on and taken care of as far as being the mother she needed to be with the children and taking care of her husband. That worked. And she was a modest woman. She didn't go out here showing out her body to everybody else. Her figure was for her husband. She didn't wear all this stuff that basically made her do things because, the way we dress has a lot to do with the way we act out here. Everything is a spirit. Same thing with the men. When the men were the head of the household and we knew our place and they knew their place, everything was in order. The reason why we're going back and forth and pointing the finger is because everything is against the Most High's laws. It's out of order. The man comes first, the woman comes second, and the children. The mother is supposed to be over the children. That's why the children are out of control. They're out here rebelling. They have no manners, no morals. They don't respect their elders. They don't honor their mother, their father. They don't go off of the godly laws because we are out of order. The woman, she's out here. She's rebellious. She's not doing what she's supposed to do because we don't go by the Most High's law. We're not modest anymore. We don't have self-respect. We don't respect ourselves, so how can we respect a man? And that's what you have to realize when you're going through the self-healing. You have to be honest with yourself. Honesty has to start with you before you can be honest with anybody else. Same thing with the man. Let's be real. They're not out here being providers anymore. They are jumping from house to house with woman to woman, children out of wedlock. These are things the Most High did not want for us. He wanted family structure, to have a wife. A man that finds a wife finds a good thing and favor. And the woman is supposed to raise the children, to be honorable. And we're not doing any of that. So until we start going back to the Most High and following the laws, we're going to keep pointing fingers at each other. That is the solution. More people back then, our great grandparents that are still married today, are married was married before they died. They were following those laws still. That's why they had the family structure together. You had your grandpa married to your grandma for 40 years or longer, and then their kids was in order, then the grandkids was in order, because they kept that going. It's out of order because you have the grandma wanting to be like her daughter, and then everybody's trying to be young, and everybody. No, people honored as they got older. They respected their wisdom, their aging. They didn't care about being young. They said, "I had them young years. I learned. I take it. I'm gonna keep moving forward and learning and becoming more wiser." But sitting on here making a YouTube video every time you see a woman not modest out here showing all her goods and not being putting herself in a position where she is preparing herself to become a wife. You have to understand, as a woman, you are not only going to take on a reputation for yourself, but for your future husband or the husband you're married to now and your children. Would you want your kids to go back and look at a video where you half naked on the street or at the club? Would you be okay with that after you transition into the woman you need to be? You have to think about stuff like that. So the way you present yourself, it matters, not just for you, but for your children and for your husband, future children or your future husband, whoever, whatever situation you may be in. Same thing for a man. To be out here with all these women, having all these children by all these different women, and just doing the most and thinking being a thug or being whatever it is you think it is, what they push now with men is okay, or a player is okay for your future self when you do transition to the man you need to be. When you go back and look at that, is that something you want to show your kids or your wife? You have to understand whatever actions you make today will affect you in the future. So, to keep making videos pointing out the wrong, start pointing out what was right, what we need to be doing, what we should be doing, how things should look. Look back at the past. Okay, when the woman was in the home, look how it reflected the man. He stepped up. He was doing his thing. Look how the children were in order. Look how the house was in order. When she knew her place, she knew she was the side, the backbone. She was her husband's partner. Look how that was set up. When the man was in the home, look how that home was ran. Look how the children were in order. Look how everything was being paid. There was no problems. They were together. Their communication was on point. The kids, everything was the way it should have been. That woman, she knew my husband is my priority as well as my children. When you put God first, everything is in order. And that's what I realized. When I put God first in my home, not only my children in order, I'm in order. I know my role and I knew what I had to give up and what it took and who I am to my husband and what I am to him, and how by me being in order keeps my household in order. Me and God partner up keeping my family together. That's what makes the world the way it needs to be. It's following order. When things are out of order, out of the God's laws, it's when the world is out of order. Even the animals are out of order because we're out of order. Everything is chaos because we're not following his laws. And it's like people keep searching for answers when it's right there in front of your face. When you do go back in the day and you say, why was things in order? And then as time shifted and time passed, things start falling apart because the family dynamic fell apart because they stopped following God's family dynamic of the way he set it up. The man answers to the Most High God. That's who he submits to. Because when he keeps him first, you're not out here lusting. You're not out here being trying to be a player. You're not trying to be a thug. You're not trying to be all these worldly tags they try to put on the man. All you're doing is being a God-fearing man and knowing that my family and my wife is the most important thing. Nothing else. Nobody else matters. I don't care about being with another woman. All I need is a wife that God has for me. When the woman stopped doing that and stopped putting the Most High first, we lost our ways. We want all these baby daddies. We cool with being a 304. We cool with being a side chick. And that's what the problem is when we lost our order in our way. Same thing with the children. When the mother stopped being a mother in the household and knowing her way in God, then the children got out of order. No mores, no matters. They not even being raised. They raising themselves. No parents in the house at all. Because the parents are lovers of themselves. They care about themselves and the man they laying up with or the woman they laying up with. And not caring about them kids. And they growing up knowing nothing. And this is the problem. Focus on you first and healing and and doing what you need to do in order to change and for the world to transform. As soon as people go back to God's ways, you will see the world transition. That is what is coming to now. You have a choice. You either choose God's way or the worldly way. If you choose the worldly way, that is of the devil. That's who you serve. If you choose God's way, that is who you serve and that's where you're going. You're creating heaven on earth. You're not going to heaven. It will be heaven here on earth. The world is transitioning to that. All this other stuff they talking about, that ain't happening. Their time is up. The devil knows this. That is exactly why he's pushing more and more agendas, or she is pushing more and more agendas, because he know or she knows her time is limited and it's coming to an end. So as it's coming to an end, I'm going to push more and more agendas. And one of those agendas is put a wedge towards the man and the woman and them not know their ways. Because if they knew God, they would know their role. And we wouldn't have this wedge. We wouldn't have confusion. We wouldn't have deceitfulness. We wouldn't be having these conversations. We would be living right. But until people understand this, we're going to keep having this conversation. We're going to keep going back and forth and never getting anywhere. And that's what people are not understanding. You're going to keep having the same conversations over and over until you go back to what worked for you. And that is following the Most High God's law on everything. Life. The Bible is your manual to life. That's what He gave you laws for, to follow them, so that you can do what you need to do in life. You don't need anything else. So I just wanted to come say that because it's like, okay, we keep seeing this and people keep repeating themselves and the same thing keeps occurring every year. It's the same topic. And it's like, when are you going to get it? That you're going to keep having this conversation until you do right. But people got to understand this. You don't have too much longer to keep having these conversations, to keep going back and forth with each other, woman against man, man against woman, because there's a time where the world is taking a transition is taking place. The world is changing. The evil are going to go to hell with their father or mother. And the Most High is marking His people that are going to create heaven on earth. So we got to get with it or get lost, period, point blank. So I just want to say much love and all praises to the Most High.